Hello, everyone. I appreciate you coming back on the end of a holiday weekend. Sorry, I'm slurring my words, and it's just because I have had a little bit of fatigue going on. Um, so I want to thank you for joining me on a beautiful Monday, July 6th. We have our wonderful sponsor, Five Star Guitars, who's been with us from the very beginning. Five Star Guitars is based in Beaverton, Oregon. If you're interested in picking up a great selection of guitars or need repairs done, they are open and ready for business. They've got sanitizing stations and masks right when you walk in. They've got sort of rehearsal and practice sections set up in the store so that you can go over and try out that new Gibson Les Paul or Paul Reed Smith and feel like you can try out a new guitar without contracting the coronavirus. And if you just don't want to test that at all, you can go to www.fivestarguitars.com and pick up something there. Just make sure that you mention that All Access Live and Kevin Rankin sent you there. It is a great honor to be able to bring a friend of mine on, somebody that just over 10 years ago, we traveled throughout the West in a band called Craving Theo. This guy is an accomplished disc jockey in the club scene in Portland before he became kind of a renowned filmmaker. Somebody that is inspiring in all sorts of ways. He's got lots of energy and lots of positivity, and he's in Dallas now, so I'm sharing him with a little bit of the South. I want to thank my buddy Anthony Gainer for being here. Thank you for being here, pal.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
You got a little quarantine beard going on. I like that.
Yeah, got the quarantine beard. I kind of gave up on the whole shaving thing, so we'll see how that plays out.
still have a baby face, but that's probably more hair than I've seen on you in forever.
I think it's more hair than I've had on my face in my entire life.
Well, and on your head, on your head too, man. I don't know that I've seen it, but well, you're in a relationship now, so your girlfriend, does she like the quarantine beard?
I think so. I think it's. I mean, pun intended, growing on her.
Yeah. Some of my son Nolan has a buddy. They were having a contest and they're growing their beards out, but his buddy's girlfriend was trying to pay Nolan off to shave his first, so that and he's like $50. So he's making some money off his quarantine beard. I kind of like that.
That's awesome.
I gave up on mine, but I'm realizing that I'm just shaggy everywhere else. And Atrane, I'm a lot older now too, so I've got hair growing out of every place else. So it's maddening.
I got the gray coming in, buddy.
Gray. That's the sophisticated look, though. Part of that is right. When you go to the Cannes Film Festival and you're showing off your films, you've got this air of sophistication. They're not going to think that they're talking to a little young punk, right? So
I mean, I can at least fake it, right?
Yeah, that's all I do, man. And that's what your girlfriend says about it. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Hey, man. So for those of my friends here that are watching the show, tell me a little bit about Anthony Gainer and what you're doing with your life right now.
Well, I mean, currently I'm, like you said, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I kind of shifted from my DJ career more into the film career. As I got older, I kind of got tired of the club scene a little bit, and then I started making films and have been connecting with some really cool people down here in Dallas, and it's been going really well. We're building a film studio right now too, and we have our short film on the film circuit that we just shot last year, and it's doing really well. And so basically all my time is just right there, just right into the short film, right in the studio. And that's basically all I'm doing right now is just film. Which is a little rough right now, because of the quarantine.
Right.
And we have like 2 or 3 projects that are basically on hold right now because we can't put 20 people in a room to shoot.
Right.
It's not safe. So
hard to do Zoom movies, isn't it?
Yeah, Zoom movies. But yeah, I mean, for right now, we're focused on building out our studio, which is basically building from the ground up. It's this warehouse space, and we're doing all the remodeling and everything. It's about a little under 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
And so we're taking this quarantine time to really dial that in. And then hopefully by the time that, the nation kind of gets back together and back on its feet again, we'll have this studio just ready for people. And then we're also doing pre-production on all these films that we've been working on. Because I mean, that's all we can do right now.
Yeah.
our company is really about keeping people safe, and I don't want to put any, I don't want to push it. And I'm a firm believer in doing this quarantine thing properly so we can get out of it as soon as possible.
Amen.
Um, but yeah, I mean, back to your question, sorry, I diverged a little bit, but yeah, it's basically just working on film. And I'm also working with dogs a lot now.
Really?
Yeah, so I've been doing, actually my girlfriend's a dog trainer.
Oh,
Uh,
that's
but even before I met her, I was doing dog photography, and then working with rescues to teach them photography so they can take pictures of the pups and get them adopted faster with better photos.
right. Oh, is that how you met your girlfriend?
Actually, I met her on Nextdoor app.
Really?
Yeah, because we were in the same neighborhood, and I posted about dog photography because during this quarantine, that was the only thing I felt comfortable really shooting. Because
Sure.
you can have proper social distancing with the owner, and then it's just basically me and a dog. And so I posted an ad on Nextdoor, and since she's a dog trainer and just moved the area, she actually responded on that, and then we started talking, and that's how we met. So
Right.
apparently, Nextdoor is the new dating app.
I guess. If not, maybe they shouldn't have you as a spokesperson for it, you know?
Yeah.
So you guys, well, first of all, I want to ask a couple questions. You mentioned working on the studio. So how many people are involved in your production group?
So we have there's 3 co-owners of Inkwell Project,
Okay.
and we've met in various shoots, various locations. One of them's a very, very talented executive producer, really business minded, and he's also a very great writer. He actually wrote the original story for A Good Man, which is out right now. And then our other partner is a writer and very good assistant director, very good organizer. And so between the 3 of us, because I'm very creative and I can't think business very well, and I can't think organization very well. I'm just kind of more like, just all the creative side of it, right? And a little bit of writing, but so to have that organizational side, and then to have that business side, and then to have me running the creative operations, it's like really great combo.
That is, that's interesting to me. Since I've known you, you've sort of been able to adapt and change a lot, which is critical right now for people during the quarantine and the pandemic.
Yeah.
People that had a career in one area that may have been affected. Everybody's life has been affected, but business has been affected. And you've gone from one career path to another, sort of adapting and letting your creative side, sort of lead that path. When
Yeah.
you And I know that took you from Portland to, I think you were in Vegas for a while, right?
Yep. Yep.
And was that a straight shot then to Dallas, or?
Yep.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, but each area that you go in, as far as I know, I don't think you had contacts in these areas, right? You just show up and make stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I was gonna tell a story, but I was mentioning this to a friend of mine today. One of the first times I saw you do this in person was when we went on the road and we were down in Tahoe. We played our show, which was a silly show earlier in the evening at some sports bar at Harrah's in Tahoe. And we went to this massive nightclub that had thousands of people in there. And I don't think you knew anybody in there. I remember you walking up to the guy that was behind the DJ booth, and we were sitting off in this booth watching you work. And I will say that I'm the kind of person that can talk to anybody comfortably. I don't have any problem talking to strangers and trying to make them friends. But not only did you go up and approach, but you came back with a job. You came back and you had like this residency gig that you set up. And I was like, okay, this cat is, he's outgrown his space at those little clubs in Portland.
Yeah.
And so you've done this in these different cities too. So is that what happened when you went to Vegas and when you went to Dallas? You just walk up, shake your hand, and make
I
yourself a
mean,
gig?
more or less, Vegas was definitely that. I had a really good friend that actually moved from Portland to Vegas, and I was staying with him, and he had some club ties. But when I went to Vegas, I really wanted to get into more on the videography and film industry side, because the casinos have so much video that they shoot, even just Cirque du Soleil alone.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get in, and I knew it'd be fun, and I knew there's a lot of energy there and a lot of work there. So and I was getting kind of tired of Portland.
Yeah.
And so I basically went down and moved in with him, and he introduced me to some people, and then I used those contacts to kind of like maneuver my way into meeting new people. And then but then past that, yeah, it was shaking hands, and I linked up with this fashion agency that was there and did a lot of work for them. And then actually one of my old DJ buddies in Portland was doing some videography work at some nightclubs there.
Okay.
And so he was giving me shows. I was working with like Ludacris, Rick Ross, Ja Rule, Daddy Yankee, a bunch of like early 2000s hip hop artists.
Yeah.
And so I was doing all of their club nights at Mandalay Bay. And so
Wow.
that was basically Vegas. And then I got
Can
a
I
job
ask,
offer.
before you
Yeah,
continue, I was going to ask, so he recommends you, right? And there are a lot of people on the conversation here that might not realize what goes into one of those kind of production shoots, right? So your buddy makes a recommendation. Ludacris comes in and plays Mandalay Bay. It's not like you show up with a little handheld camera and you run around and job is done. Are you setting up a full crew of people and you're doing static shots and
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
so I started out as a camera operator with them,
okay.
and doing stuff like that. And then when I started working with the fashion agency, that's when we were actually building out shoots. So that's when you're talking about hiring out crew, hiring out lighting, tapping to sound, this and that. That's when our productions actually got a little bit more insane. Like we were shooting with the red cameras,
Yeah.
which is like basically a 40-pound camera on your shoulder, and you're shooting in 120-degree heat with a
God.
40-pound camera on your shoulder. So,
Are you doing these
I
out on
mean,
the beach in Mandalay Bay and the beach stage there?
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of that, and then inside the nightclub too.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of where it started, and then I linked up with a film company here in Texas about the same time, and they actually flew me in to shoot a Ford commercial.
Okay, hold
And
on. And I'm sorry to interrupt again. You said you
yeah,
linked up. So it's so funny because,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you're the hustle guy, right? I mean, you know how to do the hustle. And a
right.
lot of people right now are trying to figure out how to do a side hustle, right? How can they pivot and just do a complete career change? You say I linked up. It's not like these jobs just fall in your lap,
Right.
Um,
True.
and so, okay, so you get this gig to go to Dallas to do a Ford commercial, but how do you just hook up with them? Are you on a call list somewhere with a bunch of production people and they say, we worked with Anthony, he's the guy, or
It was actually a friend of a friend uh,
uh,
from Portland. So I was
okay,
actually living in Vegas, and then a friend of a friend. They were looking to crew up people for this Ford shoot, and they saw my work and they liked what I was doing. And then that's when they flew me out. But I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was a connection that I made previously in the past. It wasn't just like, a phone list and I happened to get my name called. It was, um, is working with people and making the impression in the past, and then building up my reel to where they saw it and they, appreciated what I did enough to fly me to Houston. You
okay.
know,
You I would imagine because there are a lot of people out there doing video production, right? So, what do you
thousands.
think sets you apart? So they see your reel and your reputation precedes you. So, what about your reputation? What about working with Anthony Gainer sets you apart from those other thousand, film and video guys? I think I
A
know
few
the
things,
answer.
and I hate to humble brag, but one of the big things I pride myself on is the artistry and the passion and the feelings that a project can come up with. So it's like if you have like an insurance salesman, right, and he's trying to basically make a social media ad. There are thousands and thousands of insurance salesmen social media ads out there,
You
and they
bet.
all look the same. So I want to figure out the story behind this guy. I want to figure out what sets him apart.
You bet.
Where's his passion? I don't film anything unless I'm passionate about it, and so I got to find a story. So that's my number one. My number two is I can make something look like a $30,000 commercial for $1,000.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
How so?
and just because I can wear many hats,
Okay.
um, I can edit, I can shoot, I can direct, I can write. And so because of the fact that I don't have to hire those things out, I can take a low budget commercial and make it look like something that's, could be on TV or more.
Sure.
Those are the two things that I focus on.
Okay.
If I'm not feeling passion for a project, I don't shoot it.
Yeah. I think it really is very, very similar to the music industry, right? I've talked about this quite a few times with friends of mine in the industry about the way to get the gig, right? The way to retain a gig is because they want to be with you. They want to hang out with you, right? So if you're in a band, you're around somebody 24 hours a day, and knowing that, you're an easy hang certainly helps at least pave a way for you to get the gig, and to be referred and have those recommendations, to be on this sort of recommended list. Everything about the process has to be really good. So I would imagine, when you've worked in commercial work, when I've seen the most recent short, A Good Man, there's a lot of passion in it. There's a lot of emotion. And I hear it in the music that's conveyed in that piece, the cinematography, the way that this thing is shot and lit, all those kinds of things. I understand enough about that to see that there is pride that was put into that.
Yeah.
But I also know about you personality wise to know that you're such an easy hang. You're so easygoing. And there are a lot of people in this business that they're high energy, but the energy is almost off-putting, right? Because it seems like they're hustling so much that they're just trying to get something. And I haven't seen you at work on a set, although I've seen pictures of you on a set, and I can see by your demeanor how easy you are to work with. And so I would imagine if we talk to your business partners, they would talk about that connection. You wearing the creative hat and them wearing the business hat. It's great that you found those tools, and be able to have something to assemble so that you don't have to be the jack of all trades and master of none, but you can be a master of your trade and have the other jacks along with you, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, that is something, I mean, and I wouldn't even consider that like something that I chase after as far as like the top things that I work for in projects and stuff. It's just something that kind of naturally, I just love being on set so much, and I love people so much that it just kind of, I'm just me on set. I'm not the guy that's yelling at people, because that doesn't do anything. Like yelling at somebody doesn't make a camera setup faster.
Sure.
It's and it doesn't make an actor do a better job.
Changes the energy on set too, right?
Energy, all about energy. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and yelling and sort of that the dictatorial sort of mindset changes the energy on set for sure.
Yep.
I equate it to coaching a team, right? So we laugh about the Dallas Cowboys and coaching strategies. You're in Dallas. But I think you're a Cowboys fan, if I remember right. That's what I thought. But I think about coaches, football coaches, and then any coach really. You hear about personality in a coach. There's the strategy of the coach that's the dictator and a real strict guy who leads with fear and intimidation, right. And then the coaches that are really successful that lead with inspiration and positivity. Yeah. And oftentimes those coaches, are successful, but those are the coaches that I resonate with, the teams I resonate with, because you can see that energy is different, right? So you've probably been on sets that you weren't directing, or maybe you were a production assistant or something, where you saw the other kind of director out there and you could see the way the energy changed, I would bet.
Yeah. And the sad thing is it's the majority of them.
Really?
Yeah. I've been on more sets that are stressful than ones that aren't. And it usually comes down to one or two people. If the assistant director is a jerk, the assistant director is the one who kind of keeps the schedule going, right? And if that person's an ass, then everybody's demeanor goes down. And it's kind of like high school, because then people start gossiping about that guy, and then they start hating on that guy, and then nothing gets done. And there's just like this really bad energy on set. And, one of my number one things is just to, as a director, it's my job to make sure that everybody's having a good time. And if everybody's not having a good time, then it's going to show in the work. We're not going to get as many shots done in a day. They're not going to be, the actors aren't going to do as well. And, even more so when I'm directing, it's my job to, I wouldn't say babysit the actors, but make sure that they are safe.
Yeah.
Because if they're not safe, then their performance is going to go south, and it's going to show in the final project.
And when you say safe, emotionally safe, right? I mean, that's like, yeah, their mindset is sort of askew because they're being yelled at. Is it? Would you think that the assistant directors are sort of militant that way because budgets oftentimes dictate that we got to get this done at this time?
Yeah.
But it probably it contradicts that mindset, because if they're so sort of authoritarian, and the actors and the other staff, people that are on crew are on edge, and you're kind of second guessing yourself, I would imagine it takes more takes, and you don't get
Yeah.
the authentic.
Well,
I'm speculating a lot.
No, you're absolutely right. And even before I started working with Shannon, who's our assistant director, and co-owner of the company, I was working with other assistant directors who would stress me out when I'm directing. And if I'm stressed out, I'm, me, I'm always about like trying to get good energy and positive energy, and just get stuff done, but in a light way.
Yeah.
Where I've had assistant directors that are like, bam, 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 we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And I'm just like,
yeah,
chill out. Like,
yeah,
if you're stressing me out, then I can't do my job, and this thing is going to crumble. Where working with Shannon, we had this like really great teamwork kind of thing, where it's almost like a brother and sister thing, where we know what we need to get done. And if we have issues, we can solve them quickly. And we know, we appreciate each other. So that helps a lot. And it's a lot more fluid that way when you have a relationship with your crew like that, to where it's just this really cool machine. And next time you're in Dallas, buddy, come on a film set. It's an experience. And it's like if it's done right, it's like working with a well-oiled machine.
yeah. I'm fascinated by it. Just the industry we're in. I mean, it's very similar industry, and I've done live TV, of course, with band, but that is different in some mindsets. But it really, it's so that it is rushed and panicked oftentimes, because with TV, they just, everything is down to the last second, and, budgets are crazy. But the energy is awesome. Just the live TV is so strange because there are no mistakes, right? Even with a 5 or 6 second delay, right? I mean, you got one shot at it, and so I don't ever get anxious or nervous, on stage, but live TV freaks me out. It's tough.
How do you not get anxious in front of what's your biggest crowd? Like,
it's
60,000 people?
Last year, yeah, we did 4th of July this weekend. Last year, we were in Quebec City opening for Corey Hart, and he had 90,000 in his set. And during our set, they said somewhere between 70 and 90. But yeah, but you don't get as nervous because you don't see them all. I mean, it looks like just a carpet out there, and you can see the back 100 feet people in the audience. And the only real energy beyond that is just feeling and hearing, because they're so loud that even with in-ear monitors or your wedge speakers, the crowd is louder than all that stuff. Sometimes it drowns it out. And so that, that you get some vibe. But on TV, it comes, and I don't have a face for TV. I got a face for radio, man. So I don't feel as confident there. But back to the set, I think about, you talked about getting tired of the club scene, tired of the DJ scene. Mm-hmm. I can completely understand. I mean, it's really good for a 21-year-old scene, right? I mean, it's, if somebody has, they want to sow their oats and kind of check out that scene, but it gets exhausting to be around people in that environment. I feel like an old man saying it, but you do a lot of babysitting, as you get a little bit older. And you were into photography, I remember, right after that. So you were doing not video, but I remember you were really into photography, right? So you did product photography, and you were doing promo stuff for, was it Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo? Is that?
Oh yeah. I mean, a ton of car companies.
Okay.
We did a ton of car photography. But I mean, honestly, for me, it was like, I started shooting before I even started DJing.
Really?
I had a camera in my hand when I was 12.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, I started DJing, and they kind of went hand in hand. But like you had mentioned, as a 21-year-old, the DJ career is more exciting than, trying to work your way in the film industry. Even though I went to film school and was out about the time I was 21 or so.
Okay.
I was more infatuated with the club scene at the time, and the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I did that till, gosh, I think I was probably 27 or 28,
Okay.
maybe
As
29.
DJ Atrane.
Yeah, DJ Atrane.
Right.
And so I did that, but also I was still shooting, kind of at the same time. But it's really hard to DJ till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up for an 8 a.m. shoot.
Right.
So I kind of let the film stuff flip to the wayside. And then as I matured and got a little bit older, got a little bit more tired of the club scene, that's when I really rediscovered my passion for film.
Okay.
And then that's what kind of was like the catalyst to get back into it and start doing some cool projects.
Did you have any mentors or anybody that you were kind of working under that had more experience than you that kind of gave you a leg up?
I think all my mentors have been people that I've kind of had when I was younger.
Okay.
Like even Jeff Buhner's one of them for me.
Yeah. Me too.
He's one of my favorite people. He actually let me shoot my very first music video when I was still in film school. I was 18. That's when I met him. I met Jeff when I was 18.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Which video was that?
It was for Sweetie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was right around. That was before Craving Theo. That was late 90s.
It would have been 2006.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been 2006, and that's when I met Jeff. And
okay.
He's one of my mentors. And then I think in the film industry, mentors come and go really quickly. It's more like, hey, how can we work together? What can we learn from each other? And then, are we a good fit to work with each other again? And if not, cool. But you always learn something from somebody. And that's the thing, is like, if you keep an open mind in the film industry, honestly, I didn't need to go to film school. If I just would have spent more time on set and with people and, kind of shrinking my ego a little bit at the time, and just learning from everybody that I worked with, then I probably didn't even need to go to film school. And I've learned more on set than I have, anytime.
That's good to know. Yeah, I noticed Amanda Wiss, my friend, the actress that we talked yesterday, she's watching right now, and I bet she could weigh in on some of this conversation. You talked about ego and how much you learn on set, and I would have bet, and you also mentioned collaborations. I would think that those collaborations, whether they be mentors or sort of co-creators, you can see the gift and the talent that some of those people have, draw from that talent, and also maybe offer and lend your own spirit as well. So if as long as you can check your ego, right? If you can see that the creative side is in somebody else and draw from that without, sort of plagiarizing or stealing their art. But if you can co-collaborate, I would imagine you can exponentially forge ahead. I asked about the mentors because I think as young creative people in this industry, well, in the music industry, it's great if you have contacts. And, if you take lessons or you do sort of formal education, you can go to an amazing music school and come away with a degree, and you've got a sort of a formal, structured education, but it doesn't help you on stage. You're not studying the business end of things. You're not studying dynamic interaction with people or anything like that. You're learning notes, putting them down on paper, and translating those into sound. And in the film industry, I would imagine there's a lot of learning by trial and error, and the critique side of things in a creative sense. When you've released these shorts, because you've been submitting them to award and film shows, right? So film festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Is it humbling to release to a film festival and have like your work exposed and have these critics just pick it apart, and that's really, I would imagine, where the ego comes from, goes, because if your ego doesn't allow you to hear any of that constructive criticism, you don't grow, right?
Right. And there are a lot of times where some of the film festivals will just send kind of a blanket statement. And in my head, I'm like, no, pick it apart. Like I want,
Yeah.
I want more. Why does this suck? Why is this not good enough to be in your film festival? Because that's the only way that you grow.
Sure.
And that's why we do premieres and stuff with a very mixed audience with everything that we do, because I want to hear when they come out. I want to hear what they say. And there are times where I'll show it to a friend who can be bluntly honest with me. And they're like, hey, I didn't like the sound here, or hey, the ambience here was a little bit loud, or hey, I didn't like that cut. And every time somebody watches it, there's a new critique.
Right.
Unless they're just like, oh my God, I loved it. I would rather than being like, hey, I loved it up until this cut, and
Yeah.
then I don't like it anymore, and then I fell out of it, because that's what makes me grow, and that's what makes our films grow.
I owed you that because I watched A Good Man, and then I told you I wanted to rewatch and provide you a better critique, because I remember there being something right at the end, and I thought, I want to see how it affects me the second time I get there, because it caught me off guard the first time, and it's 12 minutes, right? So I can go back and watch it again and feel like, okay, I can get a different perspective. So I owed you that critique, and I apologize because I didn't get it back to you.
Time, buddy.
But I was honored though to see it early on, and
Yeah.
I think it's great that you can see the benefit from having that constructive criticism and not, be taken, sort of take it too personally, right? Because you see the ability to grow.
Yeah.
You mentioned partners. Two of the business partners you had in Inkwell, one of the guys wrote that. Is that right?
Yeah. So he wrote the story, and when I met him, he actually only had like a paragraph story, kind of a short film, or short story. And then we started talking, and then he was basically like, is there any way that we can turn this into a movie? And, I kind of was like, I mean, I get that a lot. So I was just kind of laughed it off, but also I just really wanted to read it. And I read it, and I'm like, well, like this thing is incredible. Like,
Saw the potential.
Yeah, let's make it a movie. And so I was like, I gave him an amount to fundraise for, and he doubled it and came back. And I was like, okay, he doubled the money. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to make this movie now. And then we turned it into a script, and we probably spent about 8 months just on the script alone.
Okay.
Just because it's so in depth and it's a very touchy subject,
right.
As we know.
We won't ruin it. We won't.
Yeah. So yeah, I won't
spoil it.
Say too much. But and then so we basically were like, all right, let's make this movie, and we dialed in the script together. And then he wrote the majority of the first draft, and then we just went back and forth for about 8 months, honestly, and kind of made it what it is. Because when you have 12 minutes for a film, like right. Every line and every single thing that happens in that movie has to be poignant. Like it's got to be,
sure,
it's got to be incredible. It's got to move the story along.
You bet. You mentioned telling your partner, this is how much to fundraise for. Mm-hmm. How do you go out there and collect money for an independent film without having any kind of backing behind it?
Good question. Great question. So there's a few ways. The way that he had to do it was way more challenging than the way that it would usually happen, because he didn't have a script yet. He just had a story.
Okay.
And so he used his network and of people that he knew and basically pitched them. And it was like, it was $100 at a time, $500 at a time.
Like a political campaign.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even think Kickstarters really work anymore, or GoFundMe, anything like that, because it's a drowned market right now.
Right.
So you really just have to be passionate about what you're doing, and you have to be passionate about your story, and you have to use your network and basically pitch every single person to make it happen. It's tough.
You're blessed if you have a wide network, and if you've got a network with expendable income. I would imagine that without the script, but just the story, so you come out with a plot, sort of here's the scenario, and I'm imagining pitching my friends saying, I have an independent film. I got a crew of guys. I believe in these guys. I want you to believe in me. The story is solid. Um, I would imagine you've got to talk about the intent behind the marketing of the film, because they have to know that this film is not just going to get made and then sit on a shelf, right?
Right.
So is the hope that you can get this out in wider distribution, get it out on streaming platforms, and maybe get some more like commercial money behind it?
So to be honest, short films, there's going to be no return.
Sure.
What you're hoping for is, I mean, if you win some big festivals, yeah, you can get some money back. But as an investor going in, you're just there to support
Okay.
who you're with.
Sure.
The hope is, and the reason why there's film festivals is to send your work out there and send your art out there and have people that are passionate about it enough to want it to turn into a feature film.
Okay.
That's the end goal.
Okay.
And then you're funding for a feature film. And then that's when you make the feature film. And then that's when you start getting return on your investments.
Gotcha.
Because it's very rare that people are going to be like, oh, here's a short film. Here's $100,000. Let me buy it from you.
Right.
You know, that like even the Pixar short films aren't even getting a lot of attention, you know? So
well, the Pixar shorts are really an extension of marketing their bigger work, right?
Right.
When they've got the shorts at the beginning of the Pixar movies, people show up, to watch the shorts, and those are probably widely spread throughout, YouTube. People are searching, for the Pixar shorts, but they wouldn't pay to get in the theater to see the shorts, but they're almost as important as the movie, right? Because that's almost like a cultural phenomenon. But I would say I was trying to equate some other sort of parallel in the music industry. I'm not sure that I can right now, but with these fundraising. So if I'm going to an angel investor, somebody that I want to borrow money to get this short done, is there not a promissory sort of idea, but would I be telling this person the hope is that we get picked up for feature film? If that happens, your investment will be returned in full. Is there ever that sort of trade-off that they'll get their money back if it gets picked up?
Yeah, totally. And a lot of it is about the relationship too that you have with these people, because usually if somebody is going to fund your short film, then they're going to be with you along your whole journey, all the way through the feature. And so, it's a lot about trading off and on. It's a lot about exchanging investments. It's a lot about, hey, I'm gonna help you out when we make it, kind of thing. And sometimes it's an investment in the company. So sometimes somebody will be like, hey, you're making this short. Can I, invest in your LLC and then get my return on that side?
Okay.
That's pretty popular. The other thing too is about making short films is that if you have a collection of short films that are fantastic, like that's our goal right now. So we have another 3 short films in the docket right now.
Really? Okay.
And so we're waiting to make those. They're already funded. They're already ready to go.
Really?
But we can't shoot them right now.
Right.
So
yeah, but the scripts are written. The storyboards are all there. You've got the scenes, and have you already casted them?
No, we haven't casted them yet. Well, we've casted one.
Okay.
We've been doing video casting, and I'll get to that too. But basically, like if you look at a production company as an investor, and they have 3 or 4 short films that are all film festival award winners internationally, that are all great quality movies, that are everything, like nothing messed up on them, like there's no like safety issues or anything like that.
Okay.
As an investor, you're like, okay, well if they can make these 4, then sure, I'll throw $100,000 at their feature film.
Okay. Which
is something that we're actually in the progress of doing right now, because a Good Man feature film is actually almost already funded.
Really? Okay.
So we're working on that right now, but again, our hands are kind of tied because of everything that's going on right now. We can't shoot a feature film right now.
Amanda Wiss and I talked yesterday about the industry right now at a standstill. People's contingency plans and plan Bs of trying to figure out other ways to keep themselves occupied and keep food on the table. While you're working on your studio and you're, sort of helping build the business, Are you getting state funds or anything like that, or any kind of cultural grants or anything to stay alive, or are you just are you working side gigs or?
I got nothing from the States.
Okay.
Not a penny. What we're doing right now is we had a little bit of funding going for the studio, and so we're focusing on that right now. And then we have the funding for the short films. So that is our pre-production, and so that's all good. But then also I'm doing, more like one-on-one kind of shoots,
Okay.
just to keep, an influx of money coming in.
Okay.
And that's the dog photography, that's the one-on-one marketing videos, stuff like that. Working on another TV show pilot, and they're just very, very small shoots,
Sure.
one or two people, and just trying to keep safe right now, because we really want to be the company who's actually doing it right, and not pushing stuff, and not trying to basically make people sick, or
Sure.
injure anybody. So that's something that we're really big on right now. So that's why we're just like, heads down, let's build a studio, let's do that. And then when we're ready to go out, we have all of our pre-production done on all of our shorts, all the scripts are done, all the shot listing is done, and then we can just go shoot.
Cool. That I love it. I love the idea that you're paying that much attention to the severity of the current pandemic.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice if across the board we were doing that in the country, because we all need to get back to work and we don't want people getting sick. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's frustrating, really frustrating when you see that, we just continue to go through these phases, and it's not going to get any better until everybody sort of pals together and takes care of this. But you mentioned doing a TV pilot. So is this something that you're going to pitch to get picked up?
No, actually, it's a self-funded TV show, and it's
Okay.
actually a TV show about my girlfriend.
Really?
Yeah, so
Ding, she heard you.
she's probably tuned in.
That was
But
well timed.
oh no, that was Buhner.
I see he's watching right now. Hi, Jeff Buhner. We're both big fans. You're a mentor.
um, but no, so she's an advanced dog behaviorist. So
Okay.
basically, she takes the dogs that have bite history, that are aggressive, that are intense, that people basically give up, and she goes in there and trains them how to function in a society, and basically saves the dog's lives.
She's
And
the true
so,
dog whisperer.
oh, she really is. Actually, she actually trained under Cesar Millan.
He
Uh,
did.
yeah, and
Okay.
but now so we're doing a TV show, basically about what she goes through. I mean, she just had her finger broken not a week and a half ago, from a dog bite,
Oh,
and
wow.
she goes through some crazy stuff. So I mean, it'll not only is she like a cool character and cool person, but she actually goes through these crazy dog battles, like dog fights, and trying to train these dogs how to function in a society where they were basically given up on.
Wow. That's heartwarming. She is it set almost like a biographical or reality show sort of scenario, or like but this is, I mean, the way that Dog Whisperer was with Caesar, right? But
Right.
as a student of his, I didn't realize that he actually did sort of training, like dog school, or training school. But it's great because he's sort of known as the best in the industry, right? So
Yeah.
um, she's obviously compassionate towards animals, as you are. It's I love that the Nextdoor app was what brought you two together. How long
Isn't
have
that
you guys
awesome?
been together?
Only a couple months now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so not very long, but I mean, we have the chemistry as far as the passion for dogs and stuff, and she's also really cool, laid back, and I think I don't know, it's just rare that you find. I've been single for basically 3 years before I met her.
Okay.
So um, it's been pretty cool to find somebody who's in love with dogs as much as I am, actually even more so, like way more so,
Wow.
that I can connect with like that. And now we get to work together. So that's cool.
Yeah. Is she working with Inkwell as well?
No,
Okay.
she, she's basically, an independent trainer,
Okay.
working with like just these crazy aggressive dogs.
Wow.
But
And
the TV show that we're shooting is going to be great.
Do you have some funding behind that already? Is what you said. You're self-funded. That's right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's out of your Anthony Gainer's pocket into
No, not even out of my pocket. She's got it. She's got some stuff going
good. That's cool.
on.
And what was her name?
uh, Her name is Elizabeth.
Hello, Elizabeth. Well, congratulations on landing Anthony Gainer. He's elusive. We've all had man crushes on him for a long time, but I think it's really cool that you've got a few different opportunities, where you can express your creativity and your love for dogs and your love for video and production. If you had somebody that recognized your value and they had such deep pockets, you had Bill Gates money, Warren Buffett money coming your way, that just said, Anthony, I see you doing great work. I want to fund whatever you want. What would you do with that kind of funding as far as production goes?
Right now, I'm so passionate about A Good Man. I would put it all towards the future.
Okay.
Um,
Production, distribution, what?
Mostly production.
Okay.
There are some things, obviously, when you're shooting an independent film that you can't do when you're shooting, big studio budget film.
Sure.
Um,
What are you
a lot
limited?
of it, a lot of it's production design for us because it's set in the 60s.
Okay.
So, and then we also, in the feature film, we go through the 80s and then today. So there's a lot of production design that we don't, that we're just going to have to kind of figure it out, where
Sure.
if we had that, that $30 million budget, then we could just, hire that out and have people handle that and do it well. Because the 60s is tough, man.
Sure.
We shot, A Good Man was set in the 60s, and I think we did pretty good, but there are still errors if you really look at it. And we spend a lot of time in production design. So production design in a budget is huge.
Okay.
It's like the majority of the budget will be in production design.
I love it. It'd be great if somebody did have that $30 million that they could throw your way, but you never know.
So if you're out there listening,
That's right.
Watch my short film and see what you think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll make sure that we put a link to A Good Man, the short film, and your production company in the archive on this. I mentioned Amanda was a couple of times. She's been an actress since she was 11, I believe she said, and done a lot of major motion picture films and a lot of TV stuff. And she talked about, the varying degrees of attention she put into auditioning and movies, and how as you age, what she talked about her passion being really into dramatic, empowered female roles as she gets older, right? So she grew up in LA area in Hollywood, but she's completely natural, hasn't done any plastic surgery or any extension that way. She's really done this in a unique way in terms of Hollywood sort of atmosphere, and I loved that about the conversation we had. But I think about you in production, and I asked her, what's your dream role? I said, what's your dream role back in the 80s? Because she really came onto the radar for me in about 85. She was in this movie with John Cusack. And then I said, what's your dream role then versus now? So when I first met you, you were barely out of film school, and you were just, this young, aspiring musician. And do you feel like first of all, your focus on production is becoming more sophisticated as you get a little bit older? You're still young, but and then are you able to watch films and not have it be ruined? Because that's one thing that she said. She said she can still get lost in a movie or a show and be swept away in the emotion if it's done right. How about you? Are you able to watch anything with entertainment, it's in a sense of entertainment, or is it just ruined because you're always looking at production things?
Well, those are two great questions.
Thank you.
First one, as far as you're welcome. As far as how I've matured over time. There's a huge difference between, my dreams as a 21-year-old compared to my dreams right now, at 30, 33. So I would say the majority of that has changed to where I'm feeling more comfortable in my own skin and feeling more comfortable in pursuing one passion that I love instead of like trying to like shoot for the moon on 20 different things, like really diving into directing, really diving into writing and finding a home there and working on that. And since I've started working on that like more intensely, my skill level has just, escalated and really quickly, where I kind of wish when I was 21 I had done this earlier, where I
Sure.
was just like, hey, this is the one thing I want to do and I want to do it really well. um, so yeah, over time, um, I would say the one thing that I've learned is to do one thing really well and really focus on it and and explore that passion and explore it deeply.
This is you coaching a 21-year-old you.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I like that. Yeah, this is good.
Dear 21-year-old Anthony,
Yeah. Yeah.
stop DJing and go back to film.
Do you feel like DJing helped in that
It
environment?
actually really did.
Oh, that.
It really did. It expanded my network.
Okay.
It expanded my the way I communicate with people.
Mhm.
Because if I can communicate with a drunk girl requesting a song at 1:30 in the morning, I can basically communicate with anybody.
It's exactly what I was thinking of. I remember seeing you up in
Yeah.
Northwest Portland at 1 o'clock
Oh
in the
yeah.
morning. It was that way every night for you, wasn't it?
Oh, every night. Every
Yeah.
night.
Oh,
So I
man.
mean, yeah, that really helped. And then your second question, I have to turn off my switch
Yeah.
in my head in order to watch a film and enjoy it, because otherwise, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily critiquing it. I'm watching it to see like, what kind of lighting did they do here?
Right.
How did they do that? Why does that look pretty? Or why
Sure.
does that not look pretty? Um, and the one thing that the one kind of movie that I can watch and have like just really feel it and just really tune into it is animated movies.
Okay.
So like, I mean, basically any Pixar movie, I can watch that and turn off my switch and just fall in love with the story.
Okay.
But a lot of like live action movies, it's more like I'm watching it and kind of involved in the story, but then at the same time, my brain is like, wow, that was really good. I wonder how they did that.
Okay. Yeah. And that takes you out of the moment, right? Because then you
Right.
start in the back of your mind thinking, they set this part up here and you're kind of missing some plot twists. And,
Yep.
are there particular types of movies that you like?
I like really dumb comedies.
Really?
Yeah,
Uh,
but if I'm like, but it's funny because I love shooting drama, and I'm more passionate about drama or anything that makes somebody feel like deeply.
mm,
Thrillers too. That's a different kind of feeling.
sure.
One of our short films that are coming up is a psycho thriller, and it's very heavy and it's very crazy and it's going to be a trip to shoot. And I'm in love with it.
That's cool.
Uh,
Did you help in the
so
writing of that?
no, actually, Shannon wrote the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's called The Truth, and it's going to be incredible. It's a psycho thriller about a girl who comes out of the psych ward and moves in with her brother and sister, and all the things that go on afterwards. So yeah, but yeah. So my favorite movies to watch are like dumb comedies that actually have some heart.
Okay.
Judd Apatow is really
Oh,
good at doing
yeah.
that. And then actually, I just watched the new Will Ferrell movie, about Saga Fire or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
the competition. And I went into it because it was like I had a day off to do nothing and I just needed to relax and wanted to watch a dumb comedy. But I was watching it and I was like, why am I feeling things right now? Like, this is a Will Ferrell movie.
Right. I
Like,
wasn't supposed to feel anything. I
I
wanted to
wasn't
just
supposed to feel
chill
anything.
out.
Yeah.
It was well
So
done.
movies like that, I love it.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Judd Apatow movies do that. It's
Mhm.
interesting because I don't expect them to, but they always do have the emotional side. And how about Russell Brand? Do you like Russell Brand?
I like him as an actor for sure.
Yeah. He's an interesting character, and you watch his evolution. And my youngest and I just watched Get Him to the Greek the other day because
Solid.
we played the Greek Theater last September. It was a bucket list item for me, and
Cool.
but the movie is so well done,
Mhm.
and so Jonah Hill and Russell Brand were great together in it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not at all into film and production, but I study them as well. I really do. And it drives me crazy if I see continuity issues or,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, if there are plot holes, I get angry. I really hate that I allow myself, because I want to escape in something too. And it drives
Mm-hmm.
me crazy if I feel like I wasted my time with something. So if
Yeah.
I see a movie, I don't mind going into a dumb comedy if I expect it to be that way. And I know that I don't need to be, blown away. But, it was hard for me to go to theaters because people stopped paying attention in theaters to the movie. They're on their
Right.
phones and they talk to each other. And
Oh man, that gets me heated.
oh, in a bad way. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's for me, it's people don't see that side of me until they go to the theater, and somebody behind me will sit there and talk, or they'll be on their phone. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but there was an opportunity where they were laughing and they were on their phone, and I turned around and I said, it'd be funny if I pissed in your fucking popcorn. And then I just, man, the whole rest of the movie, I was just like, I can't believe I let him get to me. This is like 15 years ago, but still to this day, I'm embarrassed about it. But I can't go to the movies unless I know that I have a little more control over my environment. And I know the control freak issue with me. So the home theater thing, it's really selective for me too. Even though we've been in pandemic, I binged a couple of things. I'm a big fan of Ozark. The TV
Love
documentary.
Ozark. Yeah.
Yeah, Ozark. You talked about the sort of psychological thrillers, and
Yep.
I know enough about your personality to know that you and I probably resonate a lot with those types of series. Breaking
Yep.
Bad, for sure. Breaking Bad was one of the most incredible pieces ever put together.
Yep. Agree.
And for me, it's the writing. That's what gets me when I listen to the dialogue and the writing, and I think the character development. Um, it's nice to be able to study it with somebody that really is, it's studious. I mean, you've done this work, and for me, I just know what I like. And
Right.
sometimes I'll talk to my kids about it. What did you like about the show, or what is it about that series that really gets you? And for
Mhm.
me, it's always well, it's funny, we talked about Ozark. Amanda Wiss yesterday said her role now would be Laura Linney's Marty Bird's wife's character. It's really a great role that she has, because it seems authentic. It doesn't, it's not contrived in Hollywood, and
Right.
about the big boobs and the makeup, but she's just this hard fighting mom character. So when you're doing your character development as a creative person and a director, I'm tying this back into your shoots, and you're trying to convey the passion, because you've got so much passion about the particular script and about the production of the piece.
Right.
Um, Anytime you try to friend or to get somebody else to adopt the same kind of passion that you have, whether it be somebody that you hire to do business with you, or somebody in your band, and maybe they don't take it as seriously as you do.
Right.
When you're on set, how do you convey this passion? You talked about the positivity, but do you kind of coach them through the script and say, hey, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'm just imagining, you can see that maybe one of the female actresses is kind of reading her lines, she's mailing it in, and she's really not feeling the emotion. So how do you get that kind of passion and the emotion out of one of your characters?
I talk to them as a character. Um, you know, actually, Abby Killen, who was just on A Good Man, she's an incredible actress,
Okay.
and we did a lot of pre-production work to where we would sit down at a table and we would just discuss her character, and eventually it became to where I was talking to her character, not her.
Really? Okay. So
and
the
and
method
that's
acting.
what and when you get to that point, and I'll even do that in casting too, if I'm casting somebody and they are nervous, or I feel like I can get a little bit more out of them, I'll call them by the character name and see how they respond.
Really? Okay.
And so it's basically like the same conversation that we are having right now, but
Mhm.
I'm having with that character instead of
Okay.
them as a person, and then see how they respond. And then also the other thing is I can't have a shut mind on this character, because the character that I have in my brain is going to be different than the character that the actress has in their brain.
Okay.
So if we can meet in the middle somewhere and have this discussion and figure out, what is the difference between the actor or the character that I'm feeling and the character that they're feeling. And then we sit down and basically figure out, who this person is together. And once you get to that point, when you actually get on set, it's a lot easier to have those communications and get those lines out the way that you want them or the way that you're visualizing them.
That's really respectful. Really, that's a lot of trust that you might have in your actor or actress, because
You have to. You
yeah,
have
well,
to. Otherwise, if I didn't trust them, then I would have casted somebody else.
okay. And are you involved in casting most of these pieces, or you have help?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
you.
Shannon's a casting director. And so basically the way it works is she'll give me a group of people with auditions, and then I'll look through them and then see who we want to do for callbacks. And then that's when you start having those character discussions, those figure out, who fits, who doesn't, who needs some more work. And we just don't shut people out. We're just like, we just don't say like, no, you're not good enough. We'll tell them like, hey, this is why we didn't cast you, because it goes back to that constructive criticism thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That helps them out,
And
and then actually great story. Casting for Goodman, there was a girl there that was a very, very strong character, where the Elizabeth in A Good Man needs to be a little bit of a more reduced character, a little bit more submissive. But because we liked that performance of the actress so much, we actually ended up casting her for the next movie that we're doing, which is the Thriller.
right on. I was thinking, yeah, chances are if you develop a good relationship with that person and you see those strong qualities, you're going to see benefit from, and especially if you're doing this many films. You said you've got 3 that are in the can right now?
Yeah, 3 in the
Okay.
TV show and then the feature.
That's amazing. If do you have any desire at all to get on the other side of the camera and do some acting?
Oh man, I think maybe like a bit part or something. But what's really funny is I'm not a
Yeah,
good actor.
nor am
No.
I. It's funny that you can talk to anyone and be comfortable in your own skin, being anywhere. But when I've been put on camera, it's horrible. If I have to act a part, I watch some of those little silly things that I've done in videos before, and I think there is a reason that you're not in that role. I trick myself and think, well, I wonder if I had some formal training, I worked with an acting coach, if it would help me at all.
Right.
Maybe so, but it's good that the creative side of yourself. You can see that you can elicit emotion and passion from
Yeah.
sort of driving that and directing it. You sound like the dream director. Honestly, I would think if I'm an actor or an actress out there and I hear about the way that you're sort of trying to draw that out, and even the care that you take to protect people's feelings, but also encourage their growth. It's really important. Be nice to have that in all aspects of our lives. If I asked you about like huge budget, if you could go out there and put it into some film, tell me about, if you got out of the short film, got out of independent, say, Spielberg picked you up and he was going to put you on his, sort of his roster, I guess, if you will, his team.
Yeah.
You could, because you've done so much collaboration with these people, do you feel like there's a particular director that you could work well with in sort of that highest level?
Mm-hmm.
Scorsese, Spielberg, whatever,
So the Coen Brothers
Oh.
are huge for me, and I know it's so cliche, but also they work with one of my favorite director of photographies, Roger Deakins.
Okay.
Which kind of gives the Coen Brothers. He shot basically all of their movies.
Really?
Yeah, and he gives them that look that they have,
Okay.
and then they basically handle direction and writing. So they kind of work the same way that I do, like very, very imagery based, very writing based, very character based.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the Coen Brothers, but also Martin Scorsese is one of my favorites. Although lately, not so much anymore, because he's kind of just making the same movie over and over again.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say probably the Coen Brothers.
Do you have a favorite Coen Brothers movie?
No Brother Where Art Thou, or no, sorry, No Country for Old Men.
Oh,
Oh Brother Where Art Thou was great too. Don't get me wrong, but
it was
Old Men. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just watched it again for the 4th or 5th time with my kids. It was the first time that they had seen it, and I tried to get them, they didn't believe in Inglorious Bastards. I had them watch that, and they just said, Dad, this isn't nearly as good as you said it was. And so then I said, well, let's try this. I knew like they love, Breaking Bad and that kind of dark.
Mhm.
And No Country for Old Men is so genius in terms of
Yeah.
casting. I cannot believe the character development in that movie, but the way that it's shot too, every scene is so stunning in that,
Yep.
the desert, just you feel every scene. It's crazy how you can get lost in that movie. Yeah, that's a good one. I
Every frame in that movie is designed, and that's the other thing too, when you mention budget, is that I wish I had the time
sure.
to dial in scenes that intensely to where I knew every single frame had a reason,
Yeah.
where when you're working with smaller budgets, it's harder to be like, it's harder to take 10 months on a scene, where
Yeah.
we have 10 hours on a scene.
Right.
so,
Right.
so if I had the time to really dial in something that specifically, and that's actually kind of why I'm a fan of quarantine right now, is because it is actually giving me that time to do that pre-production work, to really dive into those scenes and make every shot count that we have in that 12-15 minute range that we're going to be shooting for.
Have you been then thinking, wow, I should go back and re-edit? You go back and look at A Good Man and want to take the time now since you've got time in quarantine to do it?
Well, I mean, there are some things I would reshoot.
Okay.
Um, our editor is actually on the editing team for Game of Thrones.
Oh,
His name's Chris Willett. He's an incredible, talented person. And he's on the editing team for Game of Thrones. And he actually took the time to edit A Good Man. So as
really?
far as the edit goes, I'm happy with it. And I think it's very powerful.
You'd reshoot though.
I would do some reshoots. Yeah.
Okay. You'd have to do it without the characters. You'd have to just do the scenes with your mask on in a isolated.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's got a blue mask.
Isn't that amazing? I thought about some of the pictures that we're taking if you're around people now. And, if we look back 30 years from now at this time and, oh yeah, that was the time that I was at that wedding with masks on. You'll never
Right.
forget that was the summer of, the coronavirus. Let's hope that we don't have to experience it again. And we can actually get through that phase without, to be able to look at it and I don't want to say laugh about it, but at least look back and say, okay, well, we weathered that storm. We learned from it. That'll be the best thing, is that,
That would be the best thing. Well, that's the one that I'm hoping for, is that maybe like we start learning from it, so
yeah,
then we can learn from it some more.
yeah. You seem like you have that positive message too. When I look at what you share online and social media, I know personally for me, social media can be a curse and a blessing. And I try to stay off it as much as I stay away from the news. I sort of, I don't like to play into the divisiveness of news at this point, and I also, one of the things about for me, and I've mentioned this a lot, that the focus for me this year was to get rid of some chaos. I want to just dispose of some chaos and really just be centered in. So while the world is in chaos, I'm really trying to stay focused. And then now, getting
Yeah.
away from news is helpful. Social media, if I'm on it more than just sharing my conversations with my friends, I find that my anxiety level rises. I get caught into some of those conversations that I want to weigh in on. And
Yep.
so one of the things that I see with you, there's some humor and sarcasm and that kind of thing, which is great. It's good to be able to laugh at it, but there's a lot of positive direction. And I would think that your filmmaking is also that way. There's a morality and there's a messaging behind what I've seen in your work.
Yep.
And I'm really, really glad that you found that side of yourself to be able to share that with the world, because a lot of people go through their entire life not understanding what their purpose was.
Yep.
Right. And you mentioned that you had a camera, in your hand from an early age,
Yep.
and you knew that it was something that you were gravitating towards, but you found something that you can actually contribute to the benefit of the rest of the world. I love that you can turn maybe this TV show into something that's productive as well. That you and Elizabeth can share your affection and love for animals, and in turn, share that positivity with the rest of the planet. I think I knew you were destined for great things. I'm just so excited that you found that at 33, right? Like it's a beautiful thing. Most people never get there. You know, I'm still working on mine right now. Yeah.
Oh man, I really appreciate that. Those are some very, very kind words. And I think a lot of it, it has to do with the way that I was brought up. My parents have always been supportive. They've never been like, go get a real job, or
yeah.
whatever. They're the ones who put the camera in my hands. They're the ones who always encourage me. That's where I get my heart from. I wouldn't be anything without that. And then even like the teachers that I grew up with in my hometown, they would let me out of class to go shoot stuff,
Wow.
So
the Oregon coast.
yeah, the Oregon coast.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Man, just watching, and that's a great thing about your social media presence is that your connection with your family is very important. And, we could all benefit from having that closeness too, so it's, yeah. Do you, Elizabeth, do you and Elizabeth talk about potentially having a family?
I mean, at some point. I mean, right now it's about dogs.
Yeah.
it's dog. I mean, we right now between the two of us, there's 4 dogs, and then she has her training sessions too. So it's like, I think we're both very career driven,
Yeah.
and we're both very passionate about our where we want to be, and we keep moving forward every day. It's like, even during quarantine, every day, it's like, what is the next best thing that we can do right now?
Yeah.
And how can we lead through this very difficult time that a lot of people are going through, and how can we still be productive? And that's like the number one. It's like just the next best thing every single day.
Yeah, but that's why I asked about kids. The only reason, it wasn't to try and force you guys into the next step. I just thought how amazing it would be for somebody like you to procreate, because we need more dads like you out there, So I too was really fortunate to have supportive family, and I'm so grateful for it. And I think you're a wonderful human being. And I think, when you share that, whether it be with your kids or your dogs or anybody else, I'm grateful to have you,
Man, you are too. And we've been friends for this long for a reason, like you're an incredible human. And I'm honored to be on the show today. So, yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Well, yeah, I'll make sure that we get to share a little bit more of Anthony Gainer in the archive on YouTube. And next time I'm in Dallas, buddy, I'll definitely be hitting you up. The plan was to be there at the end of next month on tour, but that's not happening right now. So, just as soon as it frees up, and if you come back to Oregon, we'll hang here. Okay.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure, man. Thank you for being here. Anthony Gainer, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
You guys have a beautiful week, and looking forward to sharing some fun this week. So we'll just stay tuned, come back to All Access Live tomorrow, and we will see you then. Peace.